Welcome to Modern Wisdom with Dawn Ricci. I'm Dawn Ricci, a spiritual mentor, healer, psychic, and medium. My podcast is all about empowering you with spiritual insights on health, wellness, relationships, and careers. Join me and my guests as we navigate life's twists and turns, sharing wisdom and expanding knowledge together. Hit subscribe now to stay updated and never miss an episode.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I don't put the number on it. I don't put the number on it, but I say, as long as I have enough, I know the universe always provides, always. Yeah. Just always does. It's thank God. Thank you, universe. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So common blocks. Well, I guess we kind of covered this, but just list them out. Common blocks to manifesting love. We would just kind of talk about that. And common blocks. What do you think about that?
Well, the big ones I think are the not healing the things that need to be healed. Yeah. Right.
Trying to skip steps.
Skipping steps. Right. The other one is, I think, judging. Oh, this is a big one that happens really often. So instead of us looking at our own progress, like our own healing, how we're different than we were a year ago, we look at what is going on with everybody else. So we're judging our lives based on like, we're not where they are. Right. Yes. And so as soon as we do that, we actually slow down our movement toward what we want. We are slowing down our movement toward the love we're trying to manifest, because what we're affirming for ourselves is, I don't have what I want. I don't have what they have. Instead of going, every day I'm getting closer. Look at how far I've come from where I was before. When we do that, it's like rocket fuel in our manifestation. It actually creates more and more like breakthroughs. You know, the more that we actually acknowledge how far we've come, the more powerful we become as manifestors, and the faster we move in the direction that we're trying to go.
But I love that.
Distracted, it's like, I gave this analogy to one of my clients once, because she was making all this amazing progress. She'd healed like really deep trauma. She had a really clear picture of what she wanted. And then she went to like a workshop, and she happened to see someone who knew her ex and had a conversation with them, with this particular guy who knew her ex, and it just plunged her energy into this downward spiral. And she was like, it's never going to happen for me. It's never going to happen for me. It's never going to happen for me. So I gave her this analogy, and I was like, imagine, let's fast forward. Let's say like we're 4 years or 3 years in the future. You're happily married to a wonderful man. And one of her things was she wanted them to build together, like build financially together. Right. So I'm like, now imagine he's on the verge of signing this major business deal, right? That is going to just set you up financially forever, right? All he has to do is get on the plane, fly to the office, sign it, and come back, right? Let's imagine that he stops at the airport bar and he starts talking to the bartender about how his ex did him over. And he starts getting drunk, and he's talking about it, and he's just there doing that. And he misses his flight because he's having he's wallowing, and he's like thinking about the past and all of these things, right? And he misses his flight, and he doesn't get there and sign the thing. You would be looking at that and going, that is insane, right? And she was like, oh my God, I didn't get on the plane. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't stop at the bar. Don't reminisce and wallow. Yeah. I'm like, get on the plane. She's like, oh my
God. That is so great. That is so great.
So then after that, every time she started to feel that way, she'd be like, I'm not going to stop at the bar. It's time. I got to get on the plane. I just got to get on the plane. Like, it was a good, like, for her.
It's stuck in her brain.
Yeah. I'm like, right. Okay. Yes. This is wallowing at the bar. Got it. You know?
Hey, if you haven't already done so, check out my website at dawnricci.com, where you can book your appointment with me. If you need expert guidance in finding your own spirituality, or maybe thinking about getting back on track with health and well-being, then let's get to it with customized mentoring programs for your personal development. You can find all the information you need at dawnricci.com. Now let's get back to the show. Get
And
on
it
the
worked really
plane.
well for her.
Oh my God, I love that. That is great.
But that's
Yep.
one of the big ones I think that happens. Literally, it's just like we get in our own way. Self-sabotage is a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
get in our way because we go, the biggest thing that I see happen, which is why I always stay with my clients for the first few months of their relationship, is that they will get what they wanted, not know how to handle it because they've never had it before, and try to sabotage it because the pull for the familiar, even if the familiar was misery, is much, much stronger than they ever anticipated it could possibly be. So they get
Absolutely.
into that relationship and they're like, well, he's really generous and kind, and there hasn't been any drama. And he says that he loves me, which is weird. How can he just be fine? It's kind of like, and so what I see that comes up is like, I had one client once where she had these, we did all of this healing work. We did the visualization. We did the really deep self-love and self-care routines, which is all part of it too. Sometimes I do a manifesting ritual with my clients called a soul call. We had done all of these things. And usually after that, two people come in and they have to make a choice. And there's a lie that they have to see through, which is that one of these is good and one of these is bad. What they need to actually know is that these are just two different paths. You'll be happy in either one, right? So they go down whichever path they chose, and then they're with this person. And so she was with this person, and she messaged me after about a month, and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have several male friends who will ask me out for dinner or lunch, different times. And sometimes, we go have lunch, we go have dinner, something like that. But I'm not telling my boyfriend about it until afterwards. And every time I tell him about it, he's like frustrated because he's like, I'm fine with you having male friends. What I'm not fine with is you not telling me about it until after the fact. That's weird. Why wouldn't you just tell me what's going on? Like, I'm having lunch with so-and-so today,
Right.
and she's like, I know that it would be fine to tell him. So that's my 10 to 20% of my conscious mind, right? But my behavior is I can't. I'm still doing the thing that I know is really bad for us, for our relationship. I'm still doing it. And it's a compulsion. I'm having a hard time understanding why I'm doing it and stopping that behavior. And that's a self-sabotage thing. And I see that almost, I would say like 95% of the time I see that, right? So that's when we have to get into like, okay, what's coming up for you that now needs to be healed as like a final kind of thing, because
Right.
self-sabotage is huge. We want, even if misery was, even if before we were miserable, it was familiar. I
Right.
knew how to be miserable.
The brain is wired for safety, so it's only going to know what it knows. It's only going to
Mhm.
go for what it knows. And it's very hard to retrain the brain. It's
Yeah.
very hard. It's flight and fright, right? Flight and fright.
Yeah. And also
Well,
freeze and fawn.
yeah, and freeze and fawn, right? So you've got all those things part of it, and it's true, So it's really hard to change, and we have to consciously make those changes. So
Yeah.
with, say, your client that constantly, she knew that she was supposed to call and just say, "Hey, I'm going with Joe today. I just want to let you know."
Yeah.
But there was something much more that she decided that it wasn't important. Uh, Maybe a little lack of respect for her, for the guy. Maybe
It wasn't,
whatever it was,
it was literally a compulsion, and that's how we know
Yeah.
that it's a self-sabotaging
Yeah.
thing, because
It's a
she didn't
self.
even have a rationalization for it.
Yeah. She didn't have a
She didn't even have a thing
rationalization.
where she was literally like, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I have no good reason to do this, and
Yeah.
I know it will damage my relationship.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, these are all hallmarks of
Well,
self-sabotage.
well,
So we have to figure out what's going on.
she was very lucky. She had an understanding guy. I mean, it's much
Yeah.
different in the younger generation, but say like in my generation, that would not like fly.
Well, she was like 55. She
Yeah.
had four kids who were grown, and
Yeah.
her husband um had died.
Yeah.
So by the time she was back out in the dating world, she was like 58, 59. The guy she
Yeah.
was dating was about the same age.
So
So
that was very, that he
yeah,
understood that. That's great.
what was really good for her was that she reached out. She went, I know there's a problem here.
Yeah.
I know
That's
that this
good.
is a problem. Like
Yeah.
I need to tag you in here, because what the heck? She was like, what is happening? Like, I did all of this to bring this person into my life.
What
you
am I
know?
doing? See, this
Yeah,
is
like
job
this is
security.
nuts. Yeah. And I was
Dude,
like,
that's
okay.
yes, this is client security for you because you get them in full circle. Oh
Well,
my
I need to
God.
make sure that they're like
Yeah.
in it and feeling good about it. And then we check in, like, maybe it's always open for them to check in whenever
Yeah.
they like.
That's
But
awesome.
we try to still stay connected within the first 3 months, because that's when the self-sabotage stuff comes up.
Yeah.
It's like, and it comes up really
Yeah.
strongly.
I most definitely. So I wanted to touch upon dating tips. Give me some red flags. Give me some red flags about online dating. God forbid. I hope I never have to
Well,
do that.
well,
But
the very first thing I would say is, if you hate online dating, just don't do it. Because
mhm,
just remember that, you're going to bring that energy into it with you, and it's going to feel, if it feels like a chore, or it feels like something you're afraid of, you're going to bring that energy with you. If you're afraid you're going to meet a bunch of terrible guys, you're going to meet a bunch of terrible guys. So just don't do it.
yeah,
Like, because you bring that
yeah.
energy with you. And you can remember that people were dating and meeting and falling in love and getting married way before the internet ever existed, for like
I know.
hundreds of years.
Yeah. There
You
was,
know?
yeah. There is, yeah.
So
Sorry, yeah,
I
right, yeah.
promise you'll be fine.
I know.
And the other thing too is that, like, 90% of my clients, when I'm doing my work with my clients, like 90% of them are in happy, healthy relationships within 6 months of us working together. And they don't usually meet their partner online. There are three ways they usually end up meeting. And one is that it's somebody from your past who you
Mm-hmm.
were not attracted to in that way, or just didn't even think of in that way. You just thought of them as a
Mm-hmm.
friend, or maybe like their situation has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the last time you knew them, you were both married to other people, and you just thought of them as a good friend,
Yeah.
and now you're single. So it's like someone from your past, they show up in a new way. The second way is it's someone that is in your present that you're not used to thinking of that way. So it could be like a colleague from work, somebody that you see all the time, but you just never think of them like that. And maybe you go through something together, and that changes the way you see each other, you
Yes.
know? So that's something that happens often. And then the third way is that you get introduced by a mutual friend. So it's like you're at so and so's kids' graduation, whatever, and you end up meeting each other in that way. So I always see like those three ways. But some of the women that I work with feel like they need to be doing something. Like, they're like, I gotta do something to make it happen. So they want to go
Again,
online, which is
yeah.
fine.
The
If you're,
pressure, there's that pressure. They feel like they have to put their profile out there and,
you're
use the picture that doesn't even look like them anymore. No, you
yeah,
be you. You be you. You do
be
you.
you. If
Be
you're
you.
going to be online, be you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's kind of like the biggest. Oh, and the other biggest tip I would tell women is, if you want a man who takes the initiative, don't use Bumble. That's one of the tips. Because Bumble is about you taking the initiative.
Yeah.
So I know so many women who are like, and it just fizzled out because he never, well, if you imagine, Bumble is like if you have this big circular couch in the middle of this giant room, and all the guys are sitting on this couch just lounging, and all the women are just circling it. Like, what incentive do they have
Yeah.
to do anything? They know that somebody else is coming if you're not interested.
Yeah. Well, if
Like
you're
it doesn't attract those kinds of guys. It doesn't attract guys who want to take the initiative. So
right,
they're
and
not
if
in
you're
bubble.
in a career where you're already the boss of
Yeah.
everything, you just
That's
put
why
yourself. Ugh,
they think Bumble is for me because that's what I'm about. And then
yeah,
they go, why aren't men pursuing me? And it's like, you're just on the wrong app for that.
yeah, that's what it is.
That's one of the things.
First impressions. And do you have any tips for first impressions
Um,
on
well,
a
I
date?
mean, I would pay attention to things that were like, how safe and comfortable do you feel with this person right away? Like, do they seem like a happy person? Is this somebody who's smiling? And even like, are they smiling in their profile pictures?
Mm,
Stuff like
yeah,
that, you know? Do they talk about do they talk about from a standpoint of like a vision that they want to create for the future? That sounds fun and optimistic. Or are they talking a lot about how their heart has been broken before and they
oh,
don't
I
want to
know,
play games and stuff
but
like that? You
right.
know what I mean? It's like we kind of, need to skip that
Wait,
stuff.
what's that commercial? Like, it's a car commercial and they have the car that automatically pulls up for you. And he goes, "Oh, I forgot my wallet." That's, that's not a good impression.
Not a good first
See, for me,
impression.
I'm all about chivalry.
Yeah,
yes, I'm a take charge person. Yes, but with my relationship, I like the door open for me. I
yeah,
like it when you tell me I look pretty.
yeah,
I like nice things, and my husband knows that. That's why it's
yeah.
worked out for 35 years.
Yeah, so exactly. And so much of the conversations that I see now are like, should we split dinner? Should we do these? Should we do those things? And I'm saying, and my whole thing is like, if you want someone who never even thinks about it and just, of course, pays for dinner, then be with that person. Don't be with the guy who's trying to talk you into splitting and make you
Yeah,
think that you're wrong for wanting what you want. Like, it's just a strange thing. A lot of times women want to be so accommodating because we forget that, our job in dating isn't to make that situation work no matter what with this person. Our job in dating is to sort. So
yeah,
our job is to figure out like, okay, I've had enough as much time with you as I need to figure out if I want to go to the next level, not like, I hope you choose me,
oh yes,
and I
that
want to
is
make
so
it super
true.
easy for you by not being difficult in any way and not having needs and kind of blending into whatever it is that you like or that you want to do. Like so many times, it's a flip side of our superpower
Yes,
because our superpower is that we can make a situation, we can make the best of any situation and turn it into something fantastic
I
for
know.
everyone.
We
Like we're
are.
able to do that. But the
We
flip
are.
side of that is that we lose ourselves in situations where it's our job to put ourselves first and our needs first because nobody else is going to in that situation.
Right.
It's our job to
That brings me
choose.
to, well, that's all about values, I think, because like I know that if I was to date again, that's one thing. I could most definitely split the bill or I could take you out or whatever. I can most definitely do that. But I'll tell you right out of the first part of the relationship, maybe that's, down the road that I'll just say, "Oh yeah, I got the money. I got it. No worries." But in the first part, in the courting section, nope, that's something that I want, but that's a value. So that's what
Yeah.
you have to, no, that's what people have to,
You have to be with someone who
you have to
matches your
kind of
values.
discuss it, which brings me to the differences of dating between 40, 50, and 60. So
Mhm.
I had said to you, like, yeah, I turned 60 and 60 birthdays never bothered me ever, ever, ever. Freaking 60, oh, bothered me. But I know with my friends who now are all in their 60s and some have, are divorced and some have lost their husbands already and they're like in the dating world now.
Mhm.
And some of them say, "Can you imagine he asked me to pay half the bill? What a nerve." And because in their generation, that's what they came from. So I advise them to say, "You know what? Then maybe we just need to be more honest and find out what their values are and what the expectations are. So y'all don't waste your time going out." Because
Yeah.
like my friends who, like you said, go to the mall for lunch, how many times? Like you need to just set it straight. So now she's like, she's got her checklist. And if it all checks off, okay, let's go. You know?
Yeah, I think that that's great. I think that having a few
Yeah.
initial things that you're looking for are important. And I think that not letting somebody talk you out of your own values, like make you think that you're, because that's a thing that's a lot more common than used to be
Mm-hmm.
with the
Yeah.
rise of like these podcasts. I call them like bros with microphones because it's always like some kind of alpha male podcast where he's like, you need to know that, if he's talking to women, he's saying like, this is a tough love thing, but ladies, you just have to realize that, you can't expect, if you're over a certain age or you have children, you need to lower your standards and not be expecting that there are men out here who will blah 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 blah. I'm just telling you the truth that nobody else will tell you. There are these guys on podcasts who say these things, and there are women who think, oh my gosh, is that why I'm single? Maybe that's why I'm single. And they don't
Mm.
realize that what's happening with these guys is it's really just a thing of like men trying to get women to lower their standards and change their
Mm-hmm.
values to make it easier for men who would otherwise not be in the kind of the league or on the level of those women to be able to have access to them,
Yeah.
right? It's like if I make you think that you think too much of yourself, now you think you'd be an okay partner for me and you'll be grateful to be with me, even
Forget
though I
that.
don't want to grow, you
Forget
know?
that.
And that's like one of the biggest things that I see with dating is like women will ask me a lot of these questions about like, is what I'm expecting actually realistic? Is it realistic? Are there men out there who will blah, blah, blah? So I think I would say another part of dating is like, be very careful who you allow to be on your mental counsel,
Mm.
as you're going through that, because they help you shape your beliefs and then your beliefs shape what you think is possible. Right. So, and even like in the example of these women, right? It's like, so they're from this particular generation where they're used to men paying. Well, so the men who are also from that generation should be used to men paying, right? So it's not a
Absolutely.
generational thing. It's a thing of these particular, they're dating the men they think they should expect to find,
Yes.
right? Because if they're all from the same generation, then the expectation should be the same if it's a generational thing, but it's
Right.
not, right? It's a
And that's
value.
when my black and white attention span comes in, because when I do have a client that comes in and says that to me, like I'm feeling so lonely, I feel like I do have to lower my standards. And basically that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
And I'll say, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but I don't want to be alone. Well, first of all, let me just be clear. You're probably going to be alone anyway, because that's not what you want out of somebody. So it's not going to work out. So why set yourself up like that?
yeah.
So let's find you somebody who's going to be everything that's going to be in alignment. And they are out there.
They are absolutely out there. They're out there.
Yeah.
It's so, I had a client once who was like, I've got 4 kids. Like, why would a man ever? I have 4 kids and I have all these
Yeah.
financial problems. Why would a man ever want to be with me? Right.
Mhm.
And after she did her work, the person that she ended up attracting was this man who he was like in his early 50s. And he had spent so much time building his business, building his business, building his business. He didn't really
Mhm.
have like a very big social life. It was kind of
Mhm.
like by the time he looked up, everybody was like getting married and had kids. And he was like, oh my God, I've kind of like lived half my life and a lot of this stuff has passed me by. And he just had this kind of like um awakening sort of.
Mhm.
And in her, he found, oh my God, not only this amazing, beautiful, devoted partner, who was a true partner to him, but a family. Like he got so much more than, and she was thinking of herself as like,
Baggage.
yeah, baggage. And he was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is the biggest blessing that I've ever
Oh.
received. Like I didn't even imagine that you could be there. And his happiness is like all about being able to make her life easier, being able to be
Mm.
a good father figure to her kids.
See, love
It's like,
that. Love that when stuff works out.
yeah, and so we never really know, like when you're looking from a particular perspective, there are so many ways that the universe can just go click, 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 and all the things
Yeah.
that you thought were impossible are now not only possible, but like inevitable. And you just
Yes.
go, oh my gosh, this is wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had a client that, she wanted to psychic because I did the psychic readings and mediumship readings as well. And so that's her birthday present to herself every year. And she would ask, she wants to know about her relationship. And she really, really found someone very, very nice. And she's like, "Do you see me staying with him? Do you?" And I said to her, "First of all, I think that he is a magnificent choice for you. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you all work together. So there's give and take in every relationship." And I said, you have to look for those things. And she says, "Is my husband happy that I found him?" And I said to her, "He absolutely is." I mean, because he always came in to tell her how much he loved her and guided her with her kids and stuff. And I'm like, "He's so happy for you. He's happy that you're happy." She's like, "Oh, I'm so happy he's happy because I would have thought he might be like a little upset." I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, they don't want to see you upset, you
They want
know?
you to be happy.
They want you to be happy.
Yeah.
They're in a different space and time. They
Yeah.
want you to be happy."
And they're not hanging around by their grave being sad. Like they're not even connected to that body anymore. That's like the
Mm-mm.
last place that they would hang out,
Mm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up here, oh my gosh. So this was fabulous. All right, self-love practices. Give me a few self-love influence. How does self-love influence the type of partner you attract? Like, so you said that, I guess, we walk and talk with such confidence. Is that a turnoff to people? Or is that some guys really like that? Are we walk and talk with our confidence?
So the self-love thing and the confidence thing, I'll answer those as kind of separate things.
Okay.
But so the confidence thing, Alison Armstrong, if you've heard of Alison Armstrong, she considers herself to be a manthropologist, which I think
Mhm.
is a really, really great phrase. But one of the things that she talks about is how like healthy men love when a woman is confident, but sometimes we might think of confidence as something different. Confidence is really in that context, it's just the idea that the world is a safe place for me. The world is a place where I expect good things to happen for me. That's what when men see that in a woman, they think of that as confidence. They think of
Yeah.
that as the kind of confidence they're attracted to, right? And the reason for that is because of this desire to kind of be a hero, right? So it's like if you can give to someone who is already expecting things to be good, everything you do is a bonus. Everything you do is amazing, right? So it's like everything makes her happy. You get to start off winning with her, you know? So it's kind of like that idea. And that's partially too where the healing comes in, right? Because how do we get to a state where that feels natural to us to feel like the world is a good place? We have to heal the stuff that we've been through that made us feel like it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a
Self-love.
thing we're expecting to, fake that, right? And then the self-love thing, one of the huge parts of the self-love is that like we're constantly giving this message out to the universe and then attracting based on it, right? So if we're constantly neglecting ourselves by saying yes at times when we need to say no, or by not practicing basic self-care things like drinking our water and eating food that's nourishing for us and getting our rest and things like that. If we're constantly denying ourselves things that bring us joy or talking ourselves out of growth that we know that we need, we're saying, I don't even believe that I am worthy of my own love, so you don't have to send me any. That's what we're saying to the universe. So
Wow.
don't worry about it. I don't think I'm even deserving of my own love. So don't worry about sending me any. And the universe always says yes. So once we start to be intentional about practicing self-love, we're reversing that message and we're saying, I am worthy of being loved. I am putting that into practice now. I am loving everything I do to show that I love myself, whether it's a self-care thing or having a healthy boundary or allowing ourselves to have the things that bring us joy and not denying ourselves those things. Every time we do that, we're saying, I am worthy of being loved. And we're putting it into practice. and we're making it easier and easier and easier. And then we're going to attract someone who also believes that they're worthy of being loved. You know, we're attracting someone who is also healthy in that way, attracting someone who also has healthy boundaries, attracting someone who also knows how to take care of themselves, you know.
Mhm.
And so
Yes.
we're not expected to come in and like there's a thing that empaths do where we come in, we see the potential in someone. So even if they're very self-destructive, even if they are not choosing a healing path or any kind of growth for themselves, we go, but I can see that if they did, they would be so happy. And I understand the pain of why they're not doing it. And so I know that maybe if I love him really hard and I'm super understanding in a way that nobody else has ever been in his life, I can help him to change. And we fall in love with potential. And then we end up with a project instead of a partner, you know,
Yes.
and then
Ha.
that's really, really difficult. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, the
That's almost,
self-love
it's almost self-destructive because it
is
never really,
self-destructive for
it
us
just really never works
and for
out. I mean,
them.
there's always something that's going to make that whole situation blow up, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes it's because we need to heal our own sense of self in some really
Yeah.
important ways, because we might have an addiction to choosing partners that are worse off than we are because it makes us feel
Yeah.
important to be rescuers, you know?
Yes.
And that
Abs
might be something we need to heal if we want to actually
absolutely.
be on equal footing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really hard. There's so many ways to, make a list for themselves, for ourselves, to check off all the boxes so that we can have a happier and healthier relationship. But knowing it and doing it are really just so, it's really hard.
Yeah,
And I think, even though like I've been doing this for probably 15 years now. Yeah, like 15, 12, 15 years. Um, I still work on it.
we all do.
Yeah, I still work on it. I see sometimes I roll back and like into my old self, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, all right, I have to, like I'm aware. Or I fly off the handle at certain things. I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm aware, I'm stepping back. We all end up working on ourselves. So I think that whatever we can play with, whatever we can use, whatever we've got in our deck to
Yeah,
pull out with tools, and the more information and the more um, time we take for ourselves, the better off, the more lines of communication, the better off we're going to be.
yeah.
Right?
The more we forgive ourselves when we did
Yeah.
something different than what we wanted or when we would have liked to have done, you know,
Yeah.
the less that we expect ourselves to be perfect, you know, the more that we realize that healing goes like this,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and not expect it to go like this.
I have a teacher that she says that all the time, like you're healed until you're triggered again,
That's so
right?
true.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
let me just say that we're going to wrap this up, but I could have gone on forever. And I actually think I'm going to be splitting this into 2 episodes. But so much respect for you of what you do for people and how you help them in a full circle of healing, and therapy. I just enjoyed our conversation today. And I would love for you to tell people how they can get in touch with you. I'm going to put it in the show notes, but please tell us how we can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So, when we were talking before about those 5 wounds, I have an ebook that will help you understand those 5 wounds and know what to do to heal them. And
Great.
you can get that at theheartachecure.com. You can find me online at my website, which is carissamontooth.com, CarissaMontooth.com. And I'm also on Instagram as Carissa Love Healer. One
Nice.
R, one S.
I love
ROA.
Carissa, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. I learned so much from you. And that's the goal of Modern Wisdom with Dawn Ricci, because we're all here to learn. Life is one big lesson. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Dawn. It was a lot of fun.
Hey there. So before we head over to the next episode, I wanted to let you know about my show named Beach Bench Medium, and it's on my YouTube channel. As I passed by beach benches that line the boardwalk, I felt the nudge from Spirit to bring family members to their bench and give them a reading. If you have a bench dedicated to someone you lost, then get in touch with me at hello@dawnricci.com. I would love for you to be on the show. Thanks for listening.